A couple days ago, I was able to see The Marvels, the latest film in the MCU. And so here are my thoughts on it. Hi, my name is Nathan, and I talk about a bunch of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share what you thought of The Marvels over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. If you enjoyed this video, click that like button and be sure to subscribe because it really does help a lot. And with that said, let's just get straight into the review talking about the good. And as a longtime fan of the MCU, I was not particularly a big fan of this movie, but I'm talking about the good aspects of the film here. And so, with the good aspects of this film, I can say the character of Miss Marvel is very fun and enjoyable throughout the film. She just has this charisma and passion in the performance that the actress gives in this film that she comes off as just this charming, immature high schooler that just so happens to be paired up with her hero, Captain Marvel, and she's acting very energetic, fun, but also ultimately human. And that's what you really want a character in any movie to do, and so Miss Marvel did that quite well in this movie. And with Rambeau, she brings sort of the reality into the mix. I mean, of course, I'm not saying that this could happen in real life. It's, of course, about superheroes flying up to space, Flurkins eating people, things like that. All that stuff is in this movie, sure. But Rambeau kind of brings the reality and grounds it a bit. And so she kind of grounds the whole thing in a movie that's quite goofy. And final thing to talk about here in the good, some of it is just really funny. This movie is a comedy. It is probably made for kids, I would say, having seen the movie. And at times, it is really funny. It has effective laughs. We'll get into more of this stuff in the negatives, but I did find some of the humor in this movie effective and funny. And so that's about it, unfortunately. I had a bunch of problems with this movie, so let's move on to the bad. And so, with the negative aspects of this movie, remember how I said I really enjoyed the MCU as a child? The first MCU movie I saw in the theater was Captain America Civil War. I was too young to understand it. I was 6 years old. But when Guardians Volume 2 came out, that's when I really started getting into it. I had seen Guardians 1, then Guardians 2. And so, I'm saying this because I just want to establish that I have a long history with this franchise. I've grown up with it. I've seen every proper MCU movie and TV show. And they give us this movie where I just don't really think it's all that good. And that really frustrates me to say that, because I love the MCU. I wasn't even going into this movie with high expectations, but this movie was honestly worse than I expected it to be. And so the first thing that comes to mind when talking about this movie for me is that it feels like MCU fan fiction. Meaning that it feels like it's made by more professional YouTube creators that would probably do an animation for this entire movie rather than professional storytellers who are actually making a mainstream MCU movie theatrically released. It just feels kind of like fan fiction, and that's the entire movie to me. Like, it has all these goofy sequences that I just don't think fit well in the MCU. Like, there's animation sequences early on in the film, and then we have I don't want to go too much into spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the movie in this video, but let's just say they go to a planet at some point in time, and there's this whole thing that the people on the planet do, and it just is ridiculous, and I could not take it seriously. I could not believe what I was watching, And that's the entire movie. It tries to be goofy, but it also tries to have like these serious elements or trying to feel the tension. And the mix just does not work for me. And so that's one of the biggest problems. One of the first things that came to mind coming out of the theater of this movie. And from there, even beyond that, the main plot of the movie, the actual storyline that they went with, is structured in a very strange way. Now, with the MCU, they normally have these cohesive stories for their films. This is the one where I felt like it was the most confusing of all the MCU films. Like, it is the shortest MCU movie, and it's just structured very weird. Where, like, they'll do, like, flashbacks in the middle of it, and nowhere is this more apparent that it doesn't reveal the foundation of the actual main plot of the movie. It does it in a flashback in the middle of the movie. You have this villain that's trying to do her villain plot, and they don't reveal why, specifically why she's doing that, why they're holding a grudge against Captain Marvel. They don't actually reveal that until the middle of the film. And I don't particularly like how they did that. I don't really know why they would do that. Like, this movie, it was documented that they did reshoots for this movie. And I think you can see that on display, is that this is a movie that was reworked a little bit. And so the main plot itself is even structured oddly, and it doesn't even reveal the foundation of why events are happening until the middle of the movie in a flashback. So that's just really weird. And from there, even with the villain herself, generic and forgettable. And some of it's a bit goofy in the wrong way. It's like she's a villain that doesn't get a bunch of humorous moments in the film. She's meant to be taken a bit more seriously. And she comes off as a goofy grown-up running around with a hammer rather than an actual intimidating villain. Like, she's not intimidating, and she's goofy in the wrong ways. And so that's another part of it, was the villain. And from there, with the character arcs they actually give us in this movie, especially with Captain Marvel in the lead, they give her this character arc in the movie, and I just thought it was just ineffective. And I don't know if that's because of reshoots or because of the length of the runtime of the movie, but her arc is just really ineffective in this film, and sometimes it's even quite cheesy the way they do it. And like, there's a point in time where the three of them are having a conversation, and that kind of closes out Captain Marvel's arc, and it even plays out quite cheesy, because it has this vibe where it's just like, ah, shucks, maybe we made some mistakes, but friendship overtakes it, and I went, is this seriously the arc that they're giving you? Are you seriously going to play it out in this way? I just thought it was quite cheesy in the way it played out, and it was a bit cringe-inducing as well. And finally, what to talk about here is that this is a movie that's trying to tell a story that is larger in scale. You have a set of three characters, a trio, who are hopping around planets, trying to get away from this villain, trying to stop this villain, going into space, doing all this stuff. But I think it's too short. And I think this movie probably would have benefited from an extra 20 to 30 minutes to actually develop character arcs, actually develop our villain, so that the plot could be structured better. And if this movie was about 30 minutes longer, it perhaps would have been better. Like, I feel like this movie would have been better if it was just a little bit longer. You have enough time for the plot to breathe. You don't have to rush through it. You can have character arcs that actually feel like they matter. It doesn't have to feel cringy. You could even take out some of the sequences in the movie that are cringier. But the movie was just too large in scale for this short of a runtime. It's only 105 minutes. And that makes it the record for the shortest MCU movie. And I think you could feel that while watching this movie. So, in general, this is a movie that I feel like if you're excited for it, You might like it more than I do. As somebody that went in with low expectations, it met even lower than my expectations, and unfortunately, I did not like this movie. It's so frustrating. I love the MCU. I love that it's still going on, but I feel like ever since Endgame, some things have been weird with the MCU, and this project is one of the weaker ones in the entire franchise for me. My final score on this one is going to be a C. If you're a big MCU fan, I'm not really sure. And if you're excited for this movie, I think you will enjoy this movie. If you're a big MCU fan, I feel like you might like this movie a little bit less than the people that really enjoy this movie. And so, there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Marvels. Down below in the comment section, share what you thought of it over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end, and I will see you in the next one.